Yo, 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 what's up, y'all? It's your boy Cool Eagle back here in another video. Just want to come talk to you guys because, whoa, do we have a lot to talk about in the world of NFL football? If you're an Eagles fan like me, you have finally gotten over that terrible loss that we're still hearing about in the news media and on various social media platforms. I myself still have I'm probably down to 20 more responses from my family who are Dallas Cowboy fans, telling me, "Ooh, y'all suck. Ooh, y'all got blown out." And there's just not much I can really say as a defensive rebuttal just because, well, we did look like frauds when we came to AT&T Stadium. When you really think about it and just get to the gist of it, you really can't blame the defense because you knew what your defense, can and can't do. Now, I will say the defense at least held the game close until like later in the fourth quarter, and then of course we saw the third from fumble from Devontae Smith, and it was just over at that point. The Dallas Cowboys went down, and they kicked a couple field goals, and it put the game out of range, 33-13. So, um, and Eagles players and the media have came out and talked about how Brian Johnson was moving the ball down the field on various drives against the Dallas Cowboys, but we just couldn't finish drives, and that was the main thing that Brian Johnson wanted to preach to our players was to yes, he can get better at play calling, but we have to just be able to finish drives because as we've seen in that Titans Dolphins game, you just can't win the game if you're turning the ball over three times. And speaking of the Miami Dolphins, man, I want to show y'all something. Because again, like we saw that Titans Dolphins game, and the Titans were just giving the game away in the last 5 minutes of the game. Like you had that scoop score, and then you had them score another touchdown, putting the game at like 27-13 with like 3.5 minutes, 4.5 minutes left. And then all of a sudden, I turn the game off because I'm thinking the game is just over with at this point. And then I hear on Twitter somebody talking about, oh my gosh, Miami Dolphins, and I was just like, I mean, did they put a 40 on them or something? But I go back, the Titans are doing the victory kneel, and I'm just like, what happened? So I looked at the tape, and what the Titans did was just nothing short of amazing. Um, how they were able to match up DeAndre Hopkins on Xavier Howard, just knowing that he couldn't cover him, and then Will Levis, man, Will Levis. Now I'm not saying he's a rookie of the year because the Titans are still a bad team. He was able to just capitalize off the genius of Mike Vrabel and that coaching staff in the last 2 minutes after what looked like to be a giveaway of a game that could have been won. You know what I'm saying? By the Tennessee Titans probably earlier than that. But this definitely I was just like, whoa, like how'd they come back? And then looking at it, because I've never seen this. You're down two touchdowns with 4.5 minutes left. And here's the record of that happening. Teams down 14 with under 3 minutes to go. And this hasn't happened since 2016. So mind you, this has been over a half a decade since something like this happened. Teams are 1 in 767 when they're down by this much with 3 minutes to go. Because as you know, if you're down by that much, man, like you gotta do a lot to score, and it's not easy to score in the NFL. So the fact that the Titans were able to do that speaks volume on the toughness and tenacity of that team and their coaching staff, um, but also gives light to how easy it is the Miami Dolphins can be beaten. If you take Tyreek Hill out the game and you put some pressure on Tua, he just throws the ball into the dirt, or he has these crazy underthrows. But amazing game by the Tennessee Titans with under 3 minutes left, and I mean the New York Giants are on a 5-game winning streak with Tommy DeVito. Don't know what that really means for when the Eagles have to play them in Philadelphia and at MetLife. Um, so don't want to think about them being part of the gauntlet. I just want to get past Seattle with the win and just go hot into the playoffs, whether we get the number 1 seed or we get the number 2 seed, winning our division, which is still within reach. Because again, I'm telling you guys, the Eagles have the easiest 4-game stretch out of all the competitive teams in the NFC. We talked about the San Francisco 49ers remaining schedule. We talked about the Detroit Lions remaining schedule. We talked about the Cowboys remaining schedule in the gauntlet that they now have to go through, because they beat Seattle and they beat Philadelphia. Made Dax MVP case. Dallas Cowboys are a real threat in the NFC. To have the playoffs go through AT&T Stadium, which is super hard to win at, with them being on a 15-game win streak at AT&T Stadium. So the Eagles have a great chance to still control their destiny at 10-3. I don't think there's a doubt in my mind that the Eagles can run the tables from here on, especially after the talking that Brian Johnson holding himself accountable for his inconsistent play calling at times, but giving a priority to the team that you got to finish drives. Because again, you're not going to win a game with 3 turnovers like we saw in that Titans-Dolphins game. So moving on from that, we're looking at the playoff picture right now, because there are still 30 teams right now in playoff contention. 32 teams. Now, obviously, the 2 teams that you won't see on here are the Panthers, and I really can't think of the other team right now, but I know the Panthers aren't on there. So, Carolina fans, hey man, salute to y'all, but maybe next year. So we got 30 teams still in playoff contention, and looking at the schedule coming up, let me just pull that up for you guys. And again, thank you guys for tuning in. Just remember, like, subscribe, and get this content out, because I love doing this with you guys. So moving forward here to week 15, let me just present the screen here. All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So looking at this NFL schedule, right? Come on, why are they doing this to me now? Hold on, guys. One moment. Oh, come on. Where is it? There. Okay. So Thursday night football, we obviously have the LA Chargers versus the Las Vegas Rams. Now, I don't know if y'all really heard the news, but Justin Herbert is out for the season due to a right thumb injury. Very bad timing for the Los Angeles Chargers, just because, again, you have a team that may not be in the playoff run, but they still were in contention based off that graphic that I saw, that I showed y'all recently. So with Justin Herbert being out for the season, it's pretty much over. And now the Chargers are going into the offseason with changing of coaching decisions, especially with the soon departure of Bill Belichick that we will get into, right? So the Las Vegas Raiders, they're one of the teams in playoff contention. Now, I don't know how likely their playoff clinching berths are, just because they're in a competitive AFC with over 6 teams that are at 7-6. That's almost half the conference in contention for a playoff spot. So if you're telling me the Las Vegas Raiders are the best of those teams, you have to be smoking something serious, and how much you set it for. Okay, but anyway, all jokes aside, but the Raiders aren't the best of those 7-6 teams, and they're not even at 7-6. So that's another thing. So I'm not really too concerned with the Thursday night football game. I think people can just find something to enjoy out of that. You got 2 backup quarterbacks going at it. Definitely not as fun as the Monday night football games. But if you ask me, I would say the Raiders can take this one, just because, again, you have that emotional hardship that the Chargers are going through, losing their franchise quarterback, and you're going into Vegas with a Raiders team that's determined. So I got the Raiders winning this game. Now we move into Saturday, because obviously going into the holidays, they try to push more of these games through various days of the week. Now, Saturday football is going to be amazing because now you got Minnesota and sit at a hot Cincinnati team. Minnesota, they benched Josh Dobbs, something that we all see coming. You know, and the Josh Dobbs Swan song story was cool because again, he won those games in Arizona. Then he comes back and he pulls a miraculous game-winning drive in his first start with the Minnesota Vikings. But ever since then, Josh Dobbs has thrown like 4 or 5 interceptions, no touchdown passes, and obviously that they had to bench him because Minnesota is still in playoff contention, even though they're not one of the best teams with a 7-6 record in the NFC. They're just not it, you know. So Cincinnati is definitely still fighting for a playoff berth, going on a great win streak with Jake Browning, who's looking like a solid backup. Like this man is going to earn him some money in offseason, whether the Bengals decide to keep him or not. Even if they decide to keep him, because Joe Burrow is going to be gone for some time, even in the regular season for maybe 2 games, at least you'll still have a quality backup quarterback that can get you some wins in Jake Browning. So I got Cincinnati winning this one, like just because it's at Cincinnati. We know how they get in the nasty natty. And Minnesota, I just don't think they have the fortitude to go in there and pose an upset. But obviously, it's any given day, right? At this point. So we got Pittsburgh and Indianapolis. Pittsburgh, they've been losing to some subpar teams, and it's crazy because the only difference in their loss is the fact that they have Mitchell Trubisky instead of their starting quarterback, Kenny Pickett, who's not that special himself, but he's a more better backup. I mean, he's a better quarterback that can keep you in games, you know, other than Mitchell Trubisky. So but you have Indianapolis, a more complete team on both sides of the ball. So I personally, if Kenny Pickett's not playing for Pittsburgh, I would probably still lean towards Indianapolis just because they're a better team. And again, like if you have Indianapolis winning, that increases their chance of taking that last spot, especially in a competitive AFC South, right? Where the Jags are on a 2-game losing streak. The Texans, they pretty much lost their 2 offensive stars in Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Uh, so, I mean, when you think about the AFC South and how competitive it is right now, that's anyone's divisions to win at this point. You know, because again, Jaguars are on a 2-game losing streak in the latter part of the season. The Texans lost their whole offense. We don't know what the results are from the concussion protocol with CJ Stroud of the Houston Texans, or whether they decided to just sit them down just because you don't really have an offense like you had now that Nico Collins is out with a hamstring and Tank Dell's out for the season. But moving on, I got Indianapolis in this game. Let me know what y'all think in the comments about that. So Denver at Detroit. I like this game just because you have 2 teams that are aggressively fighting for a playoff spot. Because we know what Denver is. Denver is one of those 7-6 teams in that competitive AFC that are fighting aggressively for that playoff spot. They don't have the tiebreaker over Houston, but with Houston's problems right now, I see that's a big upside for Denver. And then the fact that they're only like 1 game away from a Kansas City team that we don't know as sports fans right now how they're going to respond after a horrific loss, a controversial loss apparently, that they went through. And they don't really have an offense. They have the most drop balls by a single offense in NFL history, in their first in the league with 33. So Patrick Mahomes is going through a tough year right now. So it's safe to say that Denver has a good chance, if they can beat Detroit, they can have that tiebreaker over Kansas City and probably take that first place spot in that competitive, well, semi-competitive AFC West. Let me know what y'all think about that. But Detroit isn't no slouch either. And then Denver is playing at Detroit. So this could very well be a very solid game, but obviously you would have to take Detroit since they're at home and they're a more complete team than the Denver Broncos. But let me know what y'all think about that in the comments. Definitely good like for the AFC with these games here on Saturday, with a lot of these 76 teams. So definitely going to be some good football on Saturday. Now moving into Sunday, Chicago and Cleveland. Chicago at this point, even though they're in playoff contention still, I just do not see them doing that well at Cleveland with a hot Cleveland team that really just believes in Joe Flacco, who seems to have found himself. And then it's at home, so I mean, but I'm not gonna say Chicago can't go in there and spoil their fun because we've seen what they did last week against a very good Detroit team. So who's to say they can't win it? You know, and Cleveland, although they found life with Joe Flacco, it's not safe to say that they be, a high favorite to beat the Bears, right? Tampa Bay, Green Bay. This is one of those NFC 7 seed deciding games, just because now you have Tampa Bay going into Green Bay, two bays, right? Tampa and Green Bay. And Tampa Bay is right in the thick of winning that competitive NFC South, where you have like two or three teams at 6 and 7. Um, so Tampa Bay has a good chance of taking that first place spot in their division and getting that 7 seed for the time being if they can go in there and beat a really good Green Bay team who seems to always be really good at home. Matt LaFleur is undefeated. Well, he was undefeated prior to this Giants game in the month of December, but that doesn't mean that they're not undefeated at home during this time of year. So that's going to be a really good game on Sunday to watch. Houston at Tennessee. I don't know. It really depends on how the offense of Houston can adjust without Tank Dell, and then if Nico Collins does play, how hobbled is he going to be on the hamstring? And we don't really know Houston for having a good run game like that, even though Pierce is a really good running back. So that game is really a toss up. I mean, it really won't mean much for Tennessee since they're going to be 6-8 if they win this game. And Houston, if they lose, they'll probably. I mean, they've already lost that 7 seed in the AFC after that loss to the Jets. So Houston really would have to win this game if they want to continue, this race for that 7 seed, which is really up for grabs for them because they have the tiebreaker over Denver, as I said earlier. So really a toss-up game, not something that I'm personally entertained by, but just because it's Houston and Tennessee. But the Jets in Miami, I think that'll be a really good get-back game for Miami after that crushing loss to Tennessee that dropped them to the number 2 seed in the AFC. This is a division game, so it really can go either way. Uh, but it's being played in Miami, so the Dolphins can easily come at this game and a win. Although it will be likely a very close game, just because again it's a division game where these two teams know each other. Zach Wilson can keep you in the game along with that top 5 defense in the league in the New York Jets. If they can somehow get pressure on Tua and make him have to triple or double think, because we know when you put pressure on Tua, he tends to he has this tendency of throwing it in the dirt, or he just makes a terrible, terrible underthrow that pisses off a lot of Miami fans. Kansas City and New England, I think this would be the most out of these games. Well, it won't be the most anticipated game, but when you think about the loss that Kansas City just came out of, I think they'll be ready for this game. Um, Now I like Bailey Zappi with New England. I like what he did last week versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the Steelers don't have a good a defense as the Kansas City Chiefs. Mike Spaniolo is really good at getting after quarterback, like especially younger quarterbacks. We know his record and his stilo and how his defense likes to play. So I think Kansas City can really get back up in the AFC and maybe quiet some noise around their fan base in the league, and just coming in and really doing some work on the New England Patriots. Now, since it's in New England, it could be a really exciting close game, like battle of defense. Because again, like you're talking about two offenses that really aren't that good at getting the ball down the field. Again, Kansas City leading the league in drops, and the New England Patriots, they have an unknown quarterback. So who knows? And then their offensive weapons aren't that good. They have Nelson Aguilar for God's sake. So like that should tell you that New England isn't really coming with anything that would just scare you either. So not really a game that I'm excited to watch, but it'll be a really good game for Kansas City if they can pull that win out in New England. New York and New Orleans, don't really know what that'll do. But if the Giants can go on a 6-game win streak with Tommy DeVito, that has to make them one of the more scariest teams in the league. Well, scarier teams in the league, just because you're dealing with a team that's on a 6-game win streak. They found new life in a Tommy DeVito who has a really good backstory that the NFL is pushing right now. Going into New Orleans, who's really having problems at the quarterback position and the offensive side of the ball. They can't find any kind of like consistency. Um, Derek Carr is just not. I mean, like he's not being Derek Carr right now. Now I know Derek Carr was always a middle of the pack quarterback, but they still have some questions on that offense. Now defense, I'm not really concerned about, but New York can definitely get an upset here. In New Orleans, this will be one of the more exciting games to watch. Um, but let me know what y'all think about that in the comments. Atlanta and Carolina. That game really, well, it does because the Atlanta Falcons have a chance to keep their playoff contention alive in that division for the number 7 seed. Um, so that'll be an exciting game to watch, and it's a division game too. So, you know, Washington and Los Angeles. Now, this is one of the more interesting games just because uh Los Angeles, they seem to have found some new fire in them. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are looking like one of the more dynamic duos at the wide receiver position. And then they have Matt Stafford that can get the ball to them. And then Kyron Williams in the run game is just really doing some really good work for them. The offensive line has just been good enough to give Matt Stafford that extra millisecond to get the ball out of his hands. Well, I'm sorry, the extra second. A millisecond is pretty fast. That extra second to get the ball out of his hands. So this would be a really good game in Washington. I mean, they're Washington, so who knows? Like what's going to go about in that game. If I know LA, like they're going to get a lot of pressure on Sam Howell, the most sacked quarterback in the league. So LA has a good chance of winning this game, but let me know what y'all think about that because I got LA in that game. San Francisco, Arizona. I think a lot of Eagles fans will be watching this game in particular, like just because we do need San Francisco and Dallas to lose a game or two. And what better way for San Francisco to lose than to a NFC West rival? I'm personally gonna be watching this game, and I just may have my Kyler Murray jersey on. I'm not gonna lie to you because the Eagles need some help. The Eagles do need some help to capture that number 1 seed. But the way San Francisco's playing, I don't know what kind of fight that Arizona will have against these guys. Now, Kyler Murray, I mean, like you really can't name anybody on the Arizona offense that can really just scare you to think that, oh, you know what, Arizona actually might have a chance to win this game at home against San Francisco, who's playing some of the best football in the league right now. You know, uh, so I'm personally gonna go with Arizona, but obviously the smart man would go for San Francisco. So let me know what y'all think in that one. Dallas and Buffalo. This is gonna be one of the first times in a month that Dallas has had to play on the road against a really good team. And then they're playing back-to-back weeks, it's no more mini buys. So they're going right on the road after, beating the brakes off of Philadelphia. Now they got to go into the the winter wilderness of Buffalo and beat a Buffalo team that's desperate. And that's one thing that's scary about teams in the NFL that are desperate. Like you never know what they're going to do, and they're aggressive at every play. Every possession is like it's like a Super Bowl touchdown drive, man, because the ramifications of the Buffalo winning this game keeps them in playoff contention. Baltimore and Jacksonville, that'll be a really good game just because again you have two AFC powerhouses, like battling it out. Baltimore is trying to keep that number one seed, and get a stranglehold on the AFC going to the playoffs. And then Jacksonville, I mean, they're coming off a 2-game losing streak. So, I mean, who's to say that Jacksonville can't upset Baltimore at home? You know, I'm curious to hear what y'all think in the comments, but I got Baltimore in this one. Now, Philadelphia, Seattle, we'll go more into that one on a separate video, but obviously I have Philadelphia for a multitude of reasons. I think that, yeah, so like we're gonna do a whole separate video because I've already gone too long on this one. I'm probably just gonna do this as a live stream, a premiere, and then yeah. So guys, we got a lot of content coming up, right? It's like it's that latter part of the year where it's a lot to talk about and a lot of ramifications on the line every single week, man. Snap by snap. Your boy Cool Eagle will be giving this content. Remember, like, subscribe, get this content out, and I'll talk to you guys soon about the problems with the Philadelphia Eagles and the solutions, and what's to come about in these coming games. So again, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Love doing this with y'all. Cool Eagles out here.